Welcome to the channel, everybody. So we are going to continue today with our pursuit of Cavalier with Act 6.1. Now this is going to leave us 6 levels left to go. 5 once we finish this one, and then we do have that Cavalier title. Definitely something that's going to make a big difference on the account here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the level and talk about how things went. So right off the bat here, you are going to have a global node. Now that global node is no retreat. If you dash back, you will take a degen for 1.2 seconds. If you dash back while that timer is going, that timer becomes 5 seconds and the degen goes up to 200% of the defender's attack. So you're going to want to be careful on doing a double dash back at any point in time. I know that is part of certain champions kits. I know it is also one of those things that you kind of get used to after a while once you're doing a lot of good dexes and parries that you often will dash back multiple times. You got to be really careful about that on this level because it will burn you. Now, I will tell you that this one went a little rougher for me this time with the backup account than it did my first time. I was using Corvus to get through it on the first one and pretty much ate my way all the way through the path very easily. Unfortunately, I don't have Corvus on this account. So let's go ahead and look at who we did take in here. Now, the team's going to be a little off because we actually did decide to switch out Captain Marvel movie for Venom. Just because of the Red Skull that we're going to have to face here. We'll talk about that here a little bit more in a minute. Right off the bat here, you're going to start off with Agent Venom with Overreach. Now, what Overreach is if you have 2 or more Fury charges on you, then he is going to gain a power gain, and as well as 150% attack increase. Now, if you have no Fury buffs on you, the defender is going to gain 20% ability accuracy. Now, this is, again, something that we made a mistake on. We did not bring in a champion that could set at a single Fury and keep him from having those benefits, but we still are able to get through him. The next thing about it is we have Bane of Dambalia. Now, the defender deals 50% additional damage and has 10% lifesteal as long as the attacker has is under the beneficial effects. So having that Fury buff, no matter what, you're going to be giving him something. The more benefits you have, the more that you're guaranteed you're going to give him something. Next, after that, you're going to go over to Red Skull, who has aspects of death. Now, what that does is any time that he launches a special, from the time of the beginning of the special, he has up to 8 seconds where any hit landed is an insta-kill on you. So if he's getting make sure you're baiting the special 1s and special 2s, but also make sure that you're staying away from him from the time he lets them off until a few seconds afterwards to assure that he cannot one-punch you. Now, after that, he also has Tyranny. Now, this is where, like I said, we switched out Captain Marvel movie for Venom because Captain Marvel movie is a hero, and heroes do not gain power under the Tyranny. Now, on the other hand, villains do gain absolute power. So make sure you're bringing in a cosmic villain to do this. There's plenty of those in the contest and plenty of them that are definitely worth having. Next up, you're going to have Iron Patriot. Now, Iron Patriot has aggression. With that, every 2 seconds, he is going to activate a armor up buff. Now, if you land hits against him, you can go ahead and pause that timer and remove those armor up buffs. So consistently being on top of him is going to be very important in this one. Just be very careful on that. He also has enhanced special 1s. After that, you're going to go over to Punisher 2099. Now he has overdrive. Now with the overdrive, it plays into his battery charges. Every time he hits 25% of his battery charges, meaning 25, 50, 75, he's going to also get a 25% of his max power over 5 seconds. So you're going to have to be careful there because as he's hitting those, he's going to be quickly ramping up to his specials at the same time. He also has overreach as well, just like Agent Venom did. So you're going to have to preferably have a champion that has a Fury buff on them to keep from benefiting him. Be careful, you do not want multiple Fury buffs. After Punisher 2099, you're going to have Nebula, who has Power Drain. Anytime she launches a special, if she connects with it in any way, shape, or form, she drains your entire power. She also has Energize, which increases her combat rating by 100%. After that, you're going to have Gambit. Now, with Gambit, he does have Pessimist. Now, what this is as long as he is above 75% health, he has Fury, Armor Up, and Health Steal. The thing about it is he also has a version of aggression. His version of it is based around regen. So every 2 seconds, he's going to gain a regen. If you are landing hits against him, you can pause that timer and remove those, but that is going to be a major factor in getting that first 25% off and keeping it off so that you don't have to worry about him being more overpowered. This is going to be a fight for you if you don't bring in somebody that can quickly whittle him down. I'm not going to say we did. Honestly, like I said, this is going to be a little bit of a rougher one. We made a few mistakes here. We didn't necessarily plot out our roster as well as we should have, but we did get through it, and we're going to show you how that went. But before we do, we're also going to take a look at the boss here, who is Sabretooth for this particular level. Now, one of the nice things is right before the boss here, this is the first time you're going to get the opportunity to swap out a champion. For anybody on your team who is currently still alive, no matter their health pool, you can swap them out for somebody who is healthy. That is a great advantage so that you can plan your entire team for the path and plan bringing in your boss killer at the end. We did go ahead and do a swap out there. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get there. Now, with Sabretooth, he has a few different nodes on him. The first one is discrimination. That one, it makes it so that any mutant champions that he faces, he gets an extra 15% power. Oscillate, every 15 seconds he is going to oscillate between a Fury or an Armor Up buff. So be careful on that. Sometimes he's going to be hitting harder. Sometimes he's going to be harder to hit. Next, he has Optimus. Now, now this is the opposite of Pessimist. So if he's under 25% of his max health, then he gains that Fury, Armor Up, and Health Steal. So the last part of the fight is going to be the hardest part against him. Lastly, he does have Indomitable, which makes it so you cannot reverse his health. Regen. Keep these in mind. Make sure that you're planning for it. Know that he's going to be one of the biggest ones that you faced yet, and be ready to go on, because this is an easy enough one to get through. Plan well, and make sure you're starting to put some diversity in your roster. Now let's go ahead and take a look and see how the path went for us. Right off the bat here, we brought in Apocalypse, which probably was not the best mutant that we could have brought in here. There are plenty of mutants that do stack Fury charges easily enough. We could have brought in somebody like a Magneto and just put that initial Fury on him, and we would have been setting a lot easier here. Unfortunately, though, we did go ahead and bring in Apocalypse because of the fact that he is the biggest mutant on this particular account. Again, I've talked about it yesterday in the Paragon series about the idea that you're going to need to start diversifying your roster. I've said it as an alliance leader for a long time. You want to pick 16 champions to focus on right off the bat. I know a lot of people think 5 is your number because that's how many you're going to be questing with, possibly a 6th one. That way you have one of each class. But what I've always recommended is 16. Now what that is 3 champions for war attack, 3 champions for alliance quest attack, 5 champions for war defense, and 5 champions to be able to quest with. Now if you have those 16 champions by this point, which is very possible that you can start having 16 or more leveled up, especially as you're working towards Cavalier, because that's going to be more important to you, because it's going to give you some diversity in your roster and give you the ability to not just always be going to 1, 2, or 3 champions. You know, one of the things that hurts us here on this account is my primary cosmic champion for this account is Captain Marvel movie. Obviously, against this Red Skull node, that would not have done us well whatsoever. And even bringing in Venom there was not the best counter for him either. And Gallon isn't going to do much because of the way it is set up on this particular node. We are going to end up using Gallon throughout this. I brought in Aegon in spite of the fact of the no power gain, just because I was shooting for a high combo here to go ahead and carry on into a later fight, or at least that was what we were going for. Obviously, we have the combo shield there off of Star-Lord, which does give me a little bit more benefit. Now, we are going to get Red Skull most of the way down here, do fairly decently. Unfortunately, we did end up going down to that special 2 there, as you saw. Now, the problem is that unfortunately we'd already used our combo shield, so we weren't able to carry over the combo after our death there. But you'll see there when we did it on that one where we didn't use the combo shield before getting killed, we were able to bring over some charges. This is one of the things that's going to be a factor on several of these fights here, but it really is not the way that this is designed. The bigger thing with Aegon is supposed to be that you're carrying over the combos from fight to fight from wins, not from deaths. But we did go ahead and come over here to Iron Patriot, and this is the first time we're going to bring out Gallon. Gallon is a fairly new champion on this account. We haven't had him for very long, but he was one we pushed up right away. Still kind of getting used to the idea of using him. And to be honest with you, as I was editing this, I was thinking that my playstyle can best be described as IKEA without instructions. I'm going to get it done. I ain't promising it's going to be pretty. So, but yeah, you know, you'll see here, even in this fight with Gallon, we're going to end up coming right down to the wire. We're going to end up even taking an SP3 right before the end and almost being too much to make it through this fight. And luckily enough, we had just enough in the reserves to survive the SP3 and finish him off here. So we went over and revived up Venom for this fight. We did go ahead and herald him, figuring, you know, we still got a couple tech champions to deal with here. Figuring hopefully that would do enough to give Venom the advantage here in these later fights. It does help, but my mistakes and not paying attention to the nodes, especially like with the dash back there, I'm eating myself alive here, and it's costing us a lot more than we should have had to have used. Like I said, I kind of was pretty well confident on these just because of the fact of how easily I gotten through them when I did this on the main account. But the main account had a very different roster than this one did, and on top of that too, it had a very diverse roster. I've always been very diverse on that one. This one's just kind of been when I get there type of thing. We're trying to get a little better about that on this one, and honestly, we're having to fight our way back into diversity on the main account anyways, just because of the fact that I've got so many champions and so many of them that are needing to be leveled up that I'm not always on top of everyone that I need at the time, because I'm pouring resources into somebody else that I'm going to need for something else. Now, Nebula here you're seeing gave us a bit of a pain, but she is not going to be the one that really honestly is the bad fight for this. Our last two fights with Gambit and Sabretooth, I'm just going to tell you, we screwed the pooch on it, to be truthful with you. They were not nearly as clean as they could have been. And, you know, again, this is one of those things that there's absolutely no reason to focus so heavily on just a select few champions. If you're leveling up multiple champions at once, slowly getting them all tiered up so that you can get that. And especially at this point, I talk about the 16, but by the time that you're looking at Battlegrounds, Cavalier, and above, you have access to Battlegrounds. Um, eh, you know, and that makes a bigger difference because at that point you need a good solid 30 for your deck. You're going to see more and more as you progress through the different levels here. At the further you get into story content, further you get into the extra add-on content for in-game players, the further you get into Battlegrounds, the further up you get into wars, tiers, the whole 9 yards, you're going to need more and more diversity to your roster. There are 250 champions in this game as of this month. And to be honest with you, even 30 is not as wide of a variety as you think it would be. But it is probably at a bare minimum where you should be. That's less than an eighth of the champions in the game. So keep that in mind. You're going to see here, these could have went a bit better. And it didn't have to be quite the struggle it was, but the problem is especially with him constantly adding that regen on there, we're just not eating up the damage near as much as we should be. Somebody with a better ramp up and harder hitting specials could have done quite a bit for us. Somebody with higher levels of degen damage in any way, shape, or form, direct damage in those could have made it a lot easier on us so that we could have overcame the health increase. I mean, you see right there where we slipped up and let him get 9 charges of regen on him, and it almost cost us dearly because if we would have slipped into back up to that 75%, it would have been basically starting the whole fight over, and that is not something you want this late in a level by any means. You're already eating up quite a bit of your resources, especially if you're making these kind of damages. Now here, like I said, we did switch out Stark Spidey for Gallon, which was a mistake on my part, to be completely and totally truthful with you. I should have switched him out for Apocalypse, because if I needed to bring Apocalypse in here, Sabretooth actually is stronger against Apocalypse than he is anybody else on the roster because of that discrimination. So Stark Spidey did a bit there, but not quite as much as I was hoping for. So we went ahead and started off by bringing Venom in because he was still alive. It's worth going ahead and seeing how much damage he could do. And then we were going to switch over here to Star-Lord. Obviously, another tech champion that has that high damage potential. Unfortunately, this Star-Lord is not SIG 200. It would have definitely helped on this if he was, but he is still, I believe, SIG 63. So we're getting some damage and some high numbers there, and we're able to fight against some of the regen, but we're taking far too much damage, and I'm doing it to myself. Obviously, Sabretooth has a lot of potential there for doing damage on his own, but a couple dashbacks just as a free help to him that we shouldn't be doing, and you see it there repeatedly where I ate up most of Aegon's health. Now, I did go over to Aegon, as I said here, mostly just because of the fact that he does have that higher damage potential compared to where Star-Lord was, even with the class disadvantage, just because of the difference. You're going to see here, we're going to get him most of the way down. On this one, we're going to take him down to almost dead, bring him down to about 4%, and then I'm going to slip up. And I'm going to have to revive one last time and use more resources that we barely had enough of left anyways. We ate so much resources on this one, and I don't advise that by any means. If you're struggling this hard, maybe take a look at your team, see if this is really the right counters for it, and come back and try it again later. But as you saw, we did go ahead and get it finished. That does leave us 5 levels left before we are to that Cavalier title. I hope everybody else is getting their progression in. Guys, I show you the mistakes to show you that that it doesn't have to be perfect. You can get through it. But if you're struggling too much, never be ashamed to take a break, step back, relook at your roster, and come back in and try it again another time. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you guys are enjoying all the different series. We'll be putting out another one for the Paragon series tomorrow. We'll be continuing with our crystal openings on Monday, and we will have a live stream on Sunday. I hope that if you guys have checked out all those or are excited and waiting for any of them, you take a chance to smash that subscribe button and the like button, and I will see you guys back for the next one. Peace out.